Good day. Welcome to the Interfaith Forum, episode 22. The Interfaith Forum is an initiative of the Interfaith Action for Peace, IFAP. IFAP is working to build capacities for the peaceful coexistence of religious groups in Nigeria. With us in the studio today to discuss the topic, how do we find common ground, are two highly esteemed guests. To my left is Dr. Joanna Nwosu, and she's the project coordinator for Luxterra Leadership Foundation here in Abuja. Welcome again, Sister Joanna.
Thank you.
And opposite me is Sister Rafatu AbdulHamid of Form 1, that's Federation of Muslim Women's Associations in Nigeria. Welcome, Sister Rafatu.
Thank you.
I am Jummai Umar Ajijola. Sister Rafatu, yes. I'd like to start with you today. What is common ground?
Common ground can be defined as the similarities found in different religions. For example, Christianity and Islam. When we look at these two religions, there are a lot of common grounds. For example, when we look at the concept of God, both religions teaches teaches the concept of God, irrespective of, we are not talking about how or what are the perceptions of these two religions on the issue of concept, but we are talking of the concept of God itself. And then again, when we look at the issue of accountability, both religion teaches about accountability. It talks about life after death. It talks about punishment. It talks about hellfire. It talks about paradise and so many other things.
Sister Joanna.
Yes, and to add to what my sister has said, we also have some values that both Christianity and Islam both promote. For instance, the principle of the charity, or I think in Islam it is called zakat. We both believe that we have an obligation to give from what we have to the poor. We both believe that we have to say our prayers. Not saying our prayers is actually an offense against God in both of our religions. We both believe that we must be just, that we must give the due right to other people. We both believe in modesty in our way of living, and there are so many other values that both Christianity and Islam both profess in common.
Looking at the fact that we all agree that there is common ground, and we believe that there is common ground, why do we believe that there is common ground?
Well, I mean, even looking at the origin of our religions, for example, I mean, we have a common origin. I look at some of those prophets that we have in Christianity, and they all have their counterparts in Islam. We talk about Abraham, and I'm told that Abraham is Ibrahim, and that Jacob is Yakubu, and Isaac is Isa, and so on and so forth.
Jesus is Isa.
Oh, Jesus is Isa, or Isiaka, I think they say Isaac is Isiaka. So we have, and then we both pray and we say Amen or Amen is the same answer. And we actually believe in the same God. We believe in the same one almighty creator, and we are all his children. So we are one and the same, really, when we really come down to it.
Sister Rafatu, would you like to add to what Sister Joanna has said?
Exactly, just as she has rightly mentioned. In Islam, Muslims, the Quran tells us that there are a lot of common ground. For instance, again, let us take the issue of belief in Jesus. Every Muslim is expected to believe in the messengerhood of Jesus. And this is what that is what we refer to as Prophet Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. And in fact, the faith of a Muslim can never be complete without believing in the messengership of Prophet Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. And that is why when you even look at the Quran, you find out a lot of stories about Jesus Christ. A whole chapter is named Surah to Maryam in Quran. For example, Maryam, as we all know, is the mother of Jesus. And so the circumstance even surrounding her, surrounding the birth of Jesus is mentioned in the Quran. And not only that, again, some of the teachings of Jesus, that is Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, is found in the Quran. And so we are saying that both there are common grounds. And then when you look at the scriptures again, belief in the scriptures are also very important as far as the faith or iman of every Muslim is concerned. When we talk about belief in the earliest, that is the belief in the early scriptures, like the Bible, which was revealed to Prophet Isa, the Torah, which was revealed to Prophet Musa, the Zabur, which was revealed to Prophet Dawood, and then the Quran revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So these and many other things make us believe that in the Quran itself there are common grounds for Muslims.
Sister Rafatu,
yes,
we have looked at belief. We have looked at why we believe. How do we find these common grounds among Christians and Muslims? As a Muslim, how would you go around looking for, what qualities would you see in a Muslim and a Christian that will say, okay, we have this common ground?
Good. Thank you very much for that question. In fact, there are a lot of ways, again, to find common ground. And one of these ways is through searching. Searching for common ground, listening to people, and also learning. And when we talk about learning, we don't just mean learning ordinarily. You have to imbibe some qualities in learning for or searching for common ground. Such include humility. You have to be humble, because you want to learn about other people's religion. You are not expected to be arrogant. You are not expected to, show a kind of disrespect simply because you don't believe in that religion. Otherwise, you may not be able to achieve your aim of getting a common ground. You have to learn with goodwill. You have to learn with sincerity and never be biased. Because when you have already concluded in your mind that, for example, in the belief of Christians that there are three gods or concept of Trinity, you already have concluded whatever a Christian will tell you about concept of God, you have already made up the conclusion. You may not be able to get the actual message. So for a person who wants to find common ground, he has to have these qualities so that he'll be able to achieve his aim, and at the end of the day we have a common ground.
Qualities amongst us.
Rafatu has said it all. It's all about being open. Openness, I think, is the key thing. If you are open, then you are willing to listen. And openness also implies that you are not judgmental. Because people by nature like to talk about themselves. They like to talk about what they do. So if I approach Sister Rafatu and I ask her a question, so tell me why you pray like this, or tell me about this Ramadan fast that is going on at the moment. Once she perceives me to be judgmental, or maybe I'm looking for a way to find a fault with what she is doing, she's probably going to close up and not tell me anything. So, but if she perceives that I am asking her with a kind of what I call a loving curiosity and a desire to actually know her better and understand her better, she will be willing to open up and talk to me. So openness, humility, like she pointed out, and a willingness to listen and learn. These are the qualities.
Where would you say do we go to search for these common grounds? Since we agree that how to find common ground is actually to find them, where do we know how to find them? Is to search for them. Where do we go to look for them? How do we search for them?
Well, they are everywhere. In the Bible it says, you seek and you will find. We can start just by talking, as we are talking now. For instance, my sister just talked very much about what Islam teaches about Prophet Isa. And I know that Islam has such a prophet, But I can say that there's a whole lot more that Islam has to say about that. So the first is to even talk to a Muslim. The second is perhaps to study each of our scriptures. So by the time we open up our scriptures and then we ask questions, we read what we do not understand, we approach our Muslim brothers and sisters, they have scholars among them who can be able to interpret this for us. Likewise, there are books, there are literature. If one gets on the internet too, you can find a lot of information about different faiths. But most important, I think, is the human touch, so that whatever we find by our reading and our exploration, we create an avenue for person-to-person discussion.
Sister Rafatu?
Yes.
Would you like to add to what Sister Joanna said?
I will. Just like she has rightly pointed out, as a Muslim, for example, I just want to make an example of my humble self. If I want to search for common ground, I will preferably look at a reliable, a believer that is considered reliable. And then perhaps I may not be able to know who exactly is a reliable believer, but perhaps any friend, any person I know as a Christian, I may ask him, please, can you lead me to a particular person that I can learn more about Christianity? And I want to believe that no Christian I will approach that will not be happy to, direct me to where I can get a lot of information about Christianity. And also, for example, again, if a Muslim or if a Christian wants to learn about, he can also do same. And then reading about, in my religion, for example, there are a lot of translations of the Quran, which is available to non-Muslims. Non-Muslims who are interested about Islam can, search for this type of translations. And we have good translations, just like that of Yusuf Ali, Muhammad Asad, and so on and so forth. I just want to mention immediately here that even, when we hear people that have even accepted Islam, some of them, said that they accepted Islam through reading of the translations of the Quran, and they became convinced. So also we have other literatures. Good literature books can also be a good avenue of searching. And we have internet, but what we are saying that look for best internet or good websites. Thank you.
On that note, we will have to take a very short break for messages. We will be right back. Thank you. Thank you very much, and welcome back. Sister Rafatu, how do we create more opportunities to find common ground?
Thank you very much. We can create more opportunities to find common grounds by doing a lot of activities with our brethren, non-Muslims. Say, for example, inviting us into our programs. The Ramadan is a good opportunity where you invite them to come and break the fast with you. And in fact, I just want to mention here that FCT Form 1 has organized that yesterday, and we had a successful breakfast. The Christians were so happy. We were able to learn because we even slotted a lecture in between, so that let us understand. We invited two people, one from Muslim side and one from Christian side, and both gave their views. And then we had some goodwill messages. It was indeed very successful. So having joint meetings, inviting each other to programs, you understand, that can create a lot of avenues in understanding or in having more common grounds.
Sister Joanna?
Yes, and just to concretize this, I think it is something that we need to actually mainstream into our everyday practice of our faith. For instance, what my sister has described, there is no reason why we cannot make this something that we do perhaps once in a month, for example, where we invite the Muslims to come and join us in the church for one activity or the other. There may be activities in our worship that perhaps do not go down well with them, but there are also a lot of things that we do. For instance, we have teachings on marriage, we have teachings on how to bring up children better, we have teachings on how to be a good home manager, and these are things which are common, for example, to women of every faith. We all are interested in these kind of things. So when we have this kind of activities, there's no reason why we cannot invite our Muslim sisters to come and be a part of it. And likewise, when they have some kind of activities, which they would normally have as a group of Islamic women, just like she described, they can invite the Christians, and I'm sure that many of us would be very happy to participate in this. And that now provides the platform for further dialogue and exploration of one another's beliefs and faiths and for better understanding.
A phenomenon that we have these days, probably not so new, but looks like more obvious now, are the faith-based schools. How can we use these faith-based schools to promote interfaith relations for peaceful coexistence?
I think the faith-based schools are wonderful for promoting interfaith relations. I have heard actually a lot of my Muslim sisters, especially in the West, who have spoken of the fact that they attended, for example, a Christian school when they were growing up, and that afforded them an opportunity to get to know a little bit more about Christianity. On the converse, you know, I personally have a son who is attending a school now that it's an interdenominational school, but it is owned by a Muslim. And it is such a beautiful thing to go into that school compound and observe, you know, that a mosque has been built and a chapel has been built beside the mosque. And on Fridays when the Muslims go for their Jumat prayers, the Christians go to the mosque for some kind of prayers, even though that's not their primary day of worship. And vice versa, when the Christians go to the mosque on Sunday, to the church on Sunday, sorry, the Muslims also have a religious activity. So these are ways, you know, that children can be brought to understand one another's faith. I have always promoted the idea that rather than having Islamic religious knowledge exclusively for Muslims and Christian religious knowledge exclusively for Christians, that there should be some kind of a mechanism whereby each can have a taste of the other's religious knowledge. And this is something that interfaith schools can perhaps try to sit and look at the curriculum and see if there's a way this can be slotted in. It might not be a full subject, but it provides an opportunity. I mean, since you are there together, why not take advantage of that and learn a lot more about one another?
Sister Rafatu, interfaith, the faith-based schools as tool for promoting interfaith peaceful coexistence in our society. What would you say?
Yes.
In addition, of course.
In addition to what she has just said, I want to believe that it is indeed a good thing, because when we look at the youth, many of the problems today are, you know, as a result of this issue of intolerance or not understanding precisely one another's religion. And if faith-based schools can organize things like excursions, for example, where there will be an avenue for interactions between the two faiths or more faiths, and then again organizing also interfaith events where, for instance, things like lectures, seminars, you know, and so on can be organized, and topics, sensitive topics such as peaceful coexistence among in the society, tolerance, how to, you know, have, you know, embed that culture of tolerance in one's habit or in one's affair, and so many other things that, you know, will promote peace in our society. I think it is a good thing. So this can also be encouraged in our society.
In terms of, for example, as a Muslim, we also know that today it's not one homogeneous entity, although we'd like to believe and present so, but you'd have the different sects and what they adhere to. Would you say intrafaith, would you say there is a common ground within even your faith as a Muslim?
Yes, exactly. There is a common ground. Just like you have rightly mentioned, there are diversities within the religion itself. And we'll talk about this where we mean diversities in terms of sects. See, we have Izala, we have Tariqa, we have Shia, and so on. But that notwithstanding, the Muslims are united, have common ground in issues or teachings, if I can say, teachings of the Quran and Sunnah where you cannot dispute. For example, we talk about the articles of faith, the 6 articles of faith, which teaches the Muslim the belief in the oneness of God, belief in the hereafter, belief in the prophet, angels, scriptures, and so on and so on. Every Muslim, irrespective of your religious diversity, we all believe in that concept of articles of faith. When you talk about, we look about at the issue of pillars of Islam again, we have all the pillars of Islam, which include belief in Allah again, prayer, you know, fasting, zakat, Hajj. you discover that every Muslim participates in that pillar or in the activity or in the performance of that pillar. For example, we're in the fasting period. Every Muslim in the world today is fasting. This is a typical example. And so you can see that even issues where we have prohibitions, say for example, taking of alcohol, no Muslim, irrespective of his own view or affiliation, will say, no, alcohol is accepted, or taking the pork meat, for example, or immodesty, or aspect of immorality, or aspect of being kindness to neighbors, kindness to a non-Muslim, kindness to animals, and so on and so forth. We all have common ground in these areas, and so many other ones.
Sister Joanna,
yes,
Christianity, you have the Catholics, you have the Pentecostals, you have many other denominations. Do we have a common ground despite this diversity within Christianity?
Well, the common ground remains that we believe in one God. We believe in Jesus Christ, who was his only Son, our Lord. We believe that the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit, proceeds from both Father and Son. But the three are one God and not three gods. So that remains our common ground. In addition to that, there are principles, ways of living that are espoused by Christianity, which are common to all. Things like truth, like love, like justice, like forgiveness. These are all common ground. However, where the differences lie are in interpretation of some of these things. And you find out that, as with many other religions, we do have people who tend to be extreme in their interpretation of some of these principles that are taught. But what we find is that by the time you sit down and talk to people, just as we are talking about an interfaith dialogue, so also an intra-faith dialogue, you find out that what the Holy Book teaches about these different things remains our standard. And you find out that those who are going on the line of extremism are actually not following Christianity, truly speaking, but probably they have adopted some other belief or the other that they are tending towards. So Christianity is one, there is a common ground, even though we do have those with extremist belief. And as much as possible, we try to tolerate that where it does not now infringe on the core tenets of Christianity, and also does not infringe upon human freedom, human rights, human responsibilities. Once that now happens, it becomes something that even a Christian himself would denounce.
In 30 seconds, Sister Rafatu, how do we find common ground? Wrap up.
We find common grounds, just like I have said, in many areas. And I have mentioned some, like having, listening ear. You have to listen and understand. You have to read a lot of literatures. You have to go, read the scriptures again. If you are looking for common ground from, say, let's say for Christianity, you have to go into the Bible. Read with objectivity, read with sincerity, and make an objective assessment. The same thing applies to Islamic religion. You, of course, can look, if you cannot read the Arabic, I have said it all that there are translations of the Quran today available. You can read a lot of translations of the Quran, and you make also, just like I have said, objective assessment, and then have sincerity of purpose.
Sister Joanna, in closing?
Yes, we find common ground by extending a hand of fellowship to our sisters and brothers of other faiths, drawing them close to us, getting involved in their life, in their worship, in their activities, and also opening up ours to them, and promoting a sharing of ideas, of worship, of beliefs. And by so doing, we'll be able to find so much common ground. In fact, as one of my colleagues said, when I said, so are you going to convert them to Christianity? And he said to me, there's no need, because we are one and the same.
On that note, there you have it, friends, colleagues, brothers and sisters. Dr. Joanna Nwosu, Project Coordinator for Lux Terra Leadership Foundation, and Sister Rafatu AbdulHamid, FCT Secretary, Federation of Muslim Women's Associations of Nigeria, Form 1. Thank you for your time and efforts. May the Almighty be with us all. Viewers, please join us in encouraging what is good and discouraging what is bad. Meanwhile, please follow IFAB on Twitter at IFABNG or hashtag IFABNG. On Facebook, you can follow us on Interfaith Forum IFAB, Send in your questions through Twitter or Facebook. Meanwhile, keep the faith, keep the peace till we meet again.